So today's run is going to be a finish fast. Now, I've just come out of a marathon training cycle, so this isn't typically a marathon finish fast. This is more nearer to a 10k training I'm doing. I'm taking it a bit easy after my marathon training, but I've got a 10k coming up in the middle of May, our local 10k in Bognor. So I'm going to go for it based off really my marathon training. But I'm just doing some running around the 10k race, and this finish fast is one of them. It's just over an hour. But finish fasts are really good for your marathon training as well, because you've only got so many glycogen stores in you, about 90 minutes. And if you're running more slower, you're probably burning more fat, and that's where your training comes in. You become more fat adapted. You do your steady long runs and you burn more fat. You become more efficient runner. But the finish fasts are really good because they get you used to running at the end of a run, which is a big thing, particularly after, if you hit 20 miles and then you still have to keep those legs turning. It's hard, and if you've never done it before, it becomes a bit of a shock. Whereas a finish fast will enable you to be able to do that. So that, for example, when I was doing my marathon training, I got right up to 20 miles finish fast. So I would do sort of like, probably about 15 miles, 16 miles at a steady zone 2, for example, and then finish fast in possibly like a zone 3 for the last 5 miles. And, physiologically, you don't want to do that. Your body's got used to a steady pace. Picking it up is hard, but this really enables your body, not you mentally, but also your body to adapt to that kind of pace. And, obviously the longer the finish fast, i.e. if it's 20 miles, you're probably carb depleted by then as well. And to actually pick that up is tough. And a marathon is tough. So it gives you a chance to train those factors, those adaptations, without going the full hog, i.e. running the full marathon and possibly experiencing some of the general unpleasantness that you get with a marathon sometimes. Well, let's be honest, nearly every time. It's just depending on to what degree. That's really good. So today's run, I'm actually going to do, it's going to be about an hour, just over an hour. I'm going to go out in zone 2, zone 1, warm up, and then zone 2 for about 45 minutes. And it will just be literally the last 15 minutes or so that I'll pick up into that zone 3. It's just a nice finish fast. As I say, this is more for my 10K. I'd love to go under sub 40. And to do that, it's weird. You would think that something like a 10K's got no relation to a marathon. In distance and in strategy, it hasn't. But they're all endurance runs, and a lot of people mistake this. They sort of think of, I've even done this, where you think of something like a half marathon, a marathon being an endurance, and of course your 10K isn't an endurance run. But really, it's all endurance, and this is why a lot of marathon runners, if they've done really well in their marathon, they can come down into something like a 10K and do a really good time, even though they haven't been doing specific 10K training, because it is an endurance run, just a different type. And of course, you're going a lot faster if you're going for a PB, but there is those endurance aspects. So there's a lot of relation between the types of training, I'd say, except for perhaps some of the distance of the longer runs. But even if you're training for a 10K, it's still advisable quite often to go out for what will be a longer run than the 10K. So you might have on some of your training plans, say something like a 7 or 8 mile training run, because it enables your body and your mind to go beyond the actual distance. And this is where really the finish fast is connected as well, in the relation that is that where you've got the relation of where you're able to push at the end, because in a 10K scenario, you're not tired in the same way that you're going to be tired in a marathon, but you've been running faster. You've been really pushing over that first 5K more than likely. And then you've got to turn into that last 5k and really either maintain your speed or in some cases speed up. And this is where one, endurance comes in. So doing those like 7 mile or so longer runs in your training for a 10k, and the ability to finish fast. And that's what I'm going to do today. So you can kind of see how there's that interconnection that you might not think is there when you first look at, say, marathon, when you're training for a marathon and a 10k, but there is that thread of similarity that you wouldn't always think. Anyway, let's get on with the run. So we're about 30 odd minutes in to the finish fast run. So I've been keeping it at a fairly steady pace, a few faster strides than I should do, I suppose. I've been out in the Atreyu daily trainer, and it's been a few weeks since I've been out in the daily trainer. I love them, so I do tend to run a bit too quick. So I've slowed down a little bit, but we're now in, just coming up to 33 minutes. Once I hit the 45-minute mark, then it will be picking the pace up. Presently, going between 8-minute miles and, as I say, some 7-minute miles when I've been going a bit too excited. Anyway, let's see how we go. Right, so got just over a minute till I go to my finish fast, so I won't be doing much talking doing that. So I hope to keep up the 6.5 miles, maybe more, but if I can't, I'll drop it down. Got to remember that it's all about control. It's finishing as fast as you can with control, not in a heap and a mess. It's hard, yes. It's difficult, yes. But if you feel like you're going to explode, that isn't control. So in my opinion, drop it down a bit and get into that control. Let's see how it goes. Well, that's that done. Just over 8.5 miles. Just the first 45, fairly steady. Few faster miles than I probably should have had. The last turns out to be more than the last 15 because I started at 40. It was an hour and 4 minutes. So that last part, I picked it up. A little bit disappointed at the end. Faded a bit, you know, hoping to keep to, you know, low 6-minute miles or 6.5-minute miles. And near the end it was getting towards 7. Reasons for that, probably a little bit too fast on the, had a virus, I don't know if it was, you know what, I tested one day and you know, came back negative, who knows. I treat all imposters the same, so you know, maybe that, I don't know. I think probably more than likely is, since I did the Brighton Marathon on April 10th, I haven't done huge amounts of running, which is been purposeful. I've had, you know, almost 2 continuous full blocks of marathon training, right from the summer last year, right the way through to Burley in September, and right the way, a little rest period, and then right the way through to April. So I felt, you know, take the pressure off mentally a bit. So I've been doing running, doing some mileage. I ran in the lakes, up some hills, but haven't done any real speed work, partly because of the reasons I said, partly because of this unidentified virus. So that's the first bit of speed work I've done since April the 10th, so I don't know what that is, 2-3 weeks. So I'm pretty happy with that. It was controlled and I felt comfortable, my legs feel comfortable, I feel comfortable now. So yeah, I'm pleased. And I think that's the thing you've got to take away from your training is to remember it is training. And, you know, when you look at a training run, you analyse it, try and be as dispassionate as possible, because I see so many of my runners, you know, they have a bad training run and it really upsets them. And what I mean, it upsets their routine. Some of them go off, don't run for a couple of days, or some hide, you know, so they don't challenge themselves because they're scared of failure. And these are all natural, and I've been there myself and all of those. But the thing is to really understand that the training run is just that, it's feedback. And there was a famous saying once that it said that, you know, when you argue with reality, you only lose 100% of the time. And I think that can be applied to running very, very easily, is that you have to face the reality of where you are. Doesn't mean that you'll always be there, and the reality can change from run to run. So, you know, will I be faster on this same run in a month's time? I reckon so. Was I disappointed with today? No. Is there things I could improve on? Absolutely. And that's the whole point of training. It's not a race, it's training. And that's the way you should look at it. So, yeah, so hopefully that's helped you. So to finish off, you know, just really utilise finish fasts in your training. I think it's great. You can do them for all sorts of distances. Mine today was timed, so it was an hour and 4 minutes out on running. That equated to me for about an 8.5 mile run. But for some of you, that will be less. And that's the great thing about not putting mileage, putting a time on it. That means you know how long you're going to be out there running. And then it's just a case of being, you know, looking at, you know, the finish fast and the marathon training. I said in previous videos, finish fast for marathon training. If you're doing your long runs, you shouldn't do those too early. You know, get your endurance up, get your ability to, you know, run long distances up before you do the finish fasts. And finish fasts are great for 10k training as well, and half marathon, of course. So they're always good to have in your arsenal of runs. And just to finish off, I think particularly if you've always been a bit wary of speed training and your training is fairly one paced, and perhaps, you know, you see these, you know, high reps or heel reps and you feel a bit intimidated, a 10-minute finish fast on an end of a run is very beneficial, but maybe for most runners not too intimidating. And also it's variable. So like I said, you know, if you're doing your finish fast and you're really struggling, you feel like the wheels are falling off, then slow it down. It's finish fast within a controlled parameter. It's not finish fast like, you know, you feel like the world's going to end. So hopefully this has helped on finishing fast in runs and training with them for 10k, half marathon or marathon. Bye for now.